What's happening, guys? It's Cooper Carter here for G66, and on this week's Fractal Friday, I'm going to show you guys a trick for getting the coveted amp in the room tone out of a full range speaker that is so straightforward and so simple that when I first learned about it, I wondered why I hadn't thought about it first. So as users of modelers like the Axe-Fx III, the FM9, and the FM3, we're all familiar with IRs, or impulse responses, which capture the sound of a cabinet when it's mic'd up in a great studio with a good preamp and everything else that goes into making a great recorded guitar tone, so that when you listen on studio monitors or a full range speaker like these MF10s from G66 that I'm monitoring through right now, you're getting the full sound of a mic'd up guitar cabinet like you'd hear on a record or live through a PA system. What you're not hearing is what your ears would hear if you had a cabinet in the room with you. You're getting a much different sound out of a modeler than you'd get from your standard guitar amp. Now that leaves some people wondering how best to get that amp in the room tone that you're not necessarily going to get when you are modeling the entire signal chain of a mic'd cab. And of course, the best way to do this is simply to bypass the cabinet block in your Fractal unit, plug into a solid state power amp, and then into an actual physical guitar speaker if that's the sound that you're going for. But we don't always have a power amp and a guitar speaker lying around, so let me show you a really quick trick that Cliff Chase stumbled upon a couple of years ago that when I first learned it, really, as I said in the intro, left me wondering why I hadn't thought about it before. It is so simple and it will instantly turn any full range speaker into essentially a guitar cabinet in the room. Let me show you how. So I'm starting off here with a good old rock tone. We've got a Friedman HBE amp type running into a 412 cab, mic'd up with a 57. This IR is, again, modeling the entire signal chain of a recorded guitar tone. It sounds killer. But it is, of course, a direct sounding tone, what you would hear on a record or through a PA speaker. And this is very different from what you would experience with an amp in the room sound. So what I'm going to do is go up to our second scene here, and I have bypassed the cabinet block. And if you listen to this alone, of course, you'll hear what you would be able to hear if you could listen to just the sound coming out of an amplifier. And some amps actually do have kind of a DI out for recording and then using with IRs, and you'd get this kind of sound, which is very ratty and ugly and not at all what we would want to hear. Of course, we rely as much on the sound of a cabinet as we do on the sound of an amp for a complete guitar tone. But check this out. I'm going to go ahead and add a filter block and a graphic EQ to my preset. And now, very simply, I'm going to set the type of this filter to a low pass. I'm going to set the frequency to 5K, which is the top end of what a guitar speaker really is able to transmit. Of course, the limited frequency spectrum of a guitar cabinet is really what gives it its signature sound. I'm going to set the order to 4th, so this slope is a good bit steeper. And then I'm going to set the high cut to 5K as well. And now I'll turn this low cut up a bit to around 70. And this is now giving us a curve that is approximating what a guitar cabinet will actually be able to reproduce sonically. And this gives us this kind of sound. We instantly have just sort of a generic guitar cabinet. We have effectively turned our full range speaker, whatever that is that you're monitoring through, into the limited frequency spectrum of a guitar speaker by filtering out all of the information that a guitar speaker with a tweeter would be transmitting. So now we can go into the EQ and start making a custom cabinet. And this is something that's very much up to your particular taste. So I'm going to play a couple chords and just tweak a couple of these until the quote cab that we're creating here sounds cool to me. So let's compare. Here's our direct sound, full modeled signal chain of a mic'd up cab, amp, IR. And you can hear there's a lot more top end information especially happening there in that sound. And then here's our amp in the room. We've turned, by shaving off all of that information, our full range speaker into quite literally just another cabinet in the room with me. This is one of those tricks that once you know it just seems so obvious. So there it is, super straightforward, and you guys can go into the preset. Of course, as always, you can download it from the Axe Change. The link is in the description of this video. Go in and adjust the EQ to adjust your custom cabinet to your taste and see what you think about the instant amp in the room tone that you can get from really any full range speaker. This can also be a useful trick for if you're playing with headphones, trying to get a little bit more of a amp in the room experience in your ears if you're under cans. It can be very useful there too. I hope this trick proves useful. And if you want to get even more out of your Fractal units, whether that's the Axe-Fx III, the FM9, or the FM3, make sure to visit classes.coopercarter.com for the complete Fractal Audio Masterclass series. For more info on these MF10s that I've really been enjoying using, check out the link in the description below this video. And for all things Fractal Audio, keep it right here on G66. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, thumbs up this video, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys are up to with your Fractal units, what kind of sounds you've been making, and I will see you guys next week on Fractal Friday.